home. I see many of you already watching in the plenary on the scene or on the stage in the conference space. Many messages already as we're less than 2 minutes away from us starting. Let's go look at some of these messages. So hello Maya Subelj, Tinuola Odirinde, Kishore Dutade, who says hello everyone. We're happy that you're part of the Day 2 conference, dear Kishore. Aishat Usman, hello everyone. Happy that you're here as well. Omolara Adeyemi, Cecilia Nuibubasa, Anita Odala, greetings from Mozambique. All right, Helena Corpo, who says, hi everyone, I'm happy to be a part of this. So warm greetings to all. We're starting in just over 2 minutes, and we have our very own Atahir Abu Bakr, who says the second day will be more exciting. Does that imply, Atahir, that the first one was not exciting enough for you? That's what I would ask. But here we go. We're less than 2 minutes away from getting started. We're here in the room with me, our very distinguished group of leaders, learning leaders, leaders for learning, leaders who have been working to put together this conference for months now, who successfully made it through the Teach to Reach program in 2020, and in October decided to create the Global Council of Learning Leaders for immunization. So we'll be hearing from them as well as we recap Day 2. So here we are, just over 1 minute away from the conference. Opening for this Day 2 of the plenary. Get ready for Day 2 of the Teach to Reach conference starting in less than 30 seconds. I hope you're seated comfortably and ready to listen, learn, and share. Greetings and a warm welcome to you. I'm Anuradha Gupta from the Geneva Learning Foundation, and it is time for Day 2 of Teach to Reach for the Anglophones. We had some very exciting sessions with the Francophones this morning, where Impact Accelerator leaders from a great number of countries presented, shared, and then met with participants. We will be doing that tomorrow in the plenary session on Day 3 of the Teach to Reach Accelerator Conference. Today, I want to again welcome and recognize and thank, and would like to ask you to give a round of applause to members of the organizing committee of the Teach to Reach Conference, who are also the founders of the Global Council of Learning Leaders for Immunization. So please, wherever you may be, please go ahead, put your hands together, and we will now be hearing from them as we recap what happened, everything that happened on Day 1 of the Teach to Reach Accelerator Conference. I also want to acknowledge a number of you who are connecting via social media. Ibrima Barrow, who says, hi, happy to be back following from the Gambia. Dr. Rajat Garg from India, member of the organizing committee, as well as Dr. Tanushri Mandal. Steve Miwangi from Kenya. Wycliffe Turia Singura, thrilled to be part of this conference, and he's calling in from Mbarara, Uganda. Halima Toro, afternoon everyone, and excited to be here. We're excited too. Mohamed Noor Alio, who says from Kenya, happy to meet you in this conference. So whether you're watching on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, or LinkedIn, you're welcome to watch, but just so you know, it's only the plenaries. After this plenary, we'll be shifting over to the conference space. Right now, this plenary is being broadcast on the stage. I just need to switch back to English here, and then You can see there's a really intense schedule. Scroll down. You can always see what's happening in the conference at any one moment. And we have put the names of the team leaders who will be presenting in tomorrow's plenary session. So, and I see many great messages here. So again, want to thank those of you who are putting in messages saying hello. Remember to tell us what city and country you are calling from as well. All right, let's get started. We have some great quotes from day one of the conference. So let's start with those. So the introduction of COVID-19 vaccine remains the most difficult challenge. This is from one of the conference participants yesterday. However, I am hopeful after this first day, the different interventions have clearly shown that we need to change paradigm through a break in the way we do training, planning, and especially the inclusive approach that this requires at all levels of the health system. Wonderful quote from a participant. I'd like to ask Charlotte to read us the next one.
Thank you, Reda. We have retained that to succeed, local leadership is needed and that this leadership should not be hierarchical. It is first at the individual level and even better at the community level where we can have successful agents of vaccination.
Through remote coffee breaks, I learned that health professionals in other countries are well prepared about COVID-19 vaccine introduction. In addition, strategies are in place to advocate vaccine uptake and clear any misinformation among community members. Charlotte?
I was excited to see the number of participants attending the opening ceremony, stakeholders from various countries participating joyfully. I realized that I am not alone.
All right, and what's incredible about this conference is indeed you are not alone. These are testimonials from participants just about day one. And this is the first number. It has gone up since yesterday, as you can see. 6,387 immunization professionals registered. Now, actually, 3,004 of those, 3,408 have managed to actually retrieve their conference tickets, and 2,271 were actually here on day one of the conference to participate. Now, those who are absent may not be here with us today, but that does not mean they are forgotten. I received this morning, you can see this email from Dr. Yumba Kazumba. He works for Doctors Without Borders in the Democratic Republic of Congo and says, I represent our organization, the COVID coordination team in our health district. We had an emergency special meeting this morning to prepare for the shipment of COVID kits to a health area bordering Zambia where COVID cases are reported. I especially appreciate the fact that Dr. Yumba Kazumba, even in the middle of an emergency, and a real one where lives are potentially at stake, took the time to write us. I think that is respect, and I'd like to ask you to give him, as well as all the others who cannot be here today, also a warm round of applause to really recognize and acknowledge that this is a conference about the people who are getting the job done because they have to. Health workers who are committed, health professionals, immunization professionals, whose commitment might actually make it difficult to attend a conference like this. Now, in terms of what you told us about the conference, all right, on all the questions, did it make you think differently? Was it relevant to your work? Did it address important issues for your organization? Is it likely that you would use what you learned at today's conference in my work? You can see that we're near 100% satisfaction. Now, what does that mean in terms of actual learning is a different question, but certainly, by all means, we have an impressive level of feedback. And you can see also some additional numbers. So almost 5,200 messages sent in the chat during day one. 4,723 networking meetings that were successful on day one. My experience was mixed, but overall, there are literally thousands of people who had one-to-one meetings. And on the average on day one, every participant spent on the average 161 minutes. So almost 3 hours, almost a full duration of the conference. Charlotte?
We have learned that success requires local leadership and that this leadership should not be hierarchical. It is first at the individual level and even better in the community that we can achieve success for vaccination.
Thank you, Charlotte. And that's the last quote. I now want to turn to, and I see a lot going on in the chat. Many people introducing themselves, but also some great comments. I now want to turn to the members of the organizing committee. And I do not see any raised hands yet. So I'm going to ask Charlotte if you could just designate a member of the organizing committee to respond and really to share what was your experience yesterday of day one of the conference. What are your reflections? What would you like to share back? As members of the organizing committee, of course, this is your conference, our conference, and furthermore, you are the voice of the participants. You are here in the plenary room and can speak, not just write comments. So we look forward to hearing from you. Charlotte, who should we hear from first? And would you like to share your reflections on day one of the conference?
Okay, thank you very much, Reda. And for me, it was just a wonderful moment of knowledge sharing, but also of getting to meet new people, interaction between the speakers and the participants from all levels of the health system, different countries, and all of that. So that's, I could actually feel some tangible excitement in the air and enthusiasm. So it was a great day for me, and I had some great sessions with a wonderful team, especially members of the organizing committee that were part of moderating or reporting. It was just so great. So I want to turn right now. I really want to listen more to those that are in the room with us, Reda. And I see I was about to call Emmanuel Musa, and he actually just raised his hand. So it's as if you read my mind, Emmanuel. So please just unmute yourself and go ahead.
Hello, hello everyone. This is it's actually been a pleasure being part of this great conference. It has actually been the planning. I want to really congratulate all members of the planning committee. I want to actually thank Reda and his team, Charlotte, for her tireless effort. I want to thank almost everyone who has participated in the Nigerian coordinating team, the Nigerian team lead. It has actually not been easy, but then we have started it yesterday. And then I'm sure by tomorrow, we'll be rounding up. As we can, anybody who has known, it's not, this is just not a conference for the COVID. It has just been a conference for everyone, every health professional will ever yearn to be part of it. It's a conference that at the end we take home what we should equally do in our all various health facilities. It's a conference that we will connect with each other. Yesterday, just like what Charlotte was saying, I was able to connect with almost 15 participants across all nations, and we've connected ourselves, we've exchanged numbers, and then we are actually chatting. So this is just one of it. And the takeaway home is for us is that at the end of this conference, we will definitely go to our various organizations, various health facilities, and showcase what we have actually learned in this conference. It's actually been good. I've interacted with so many moderators in so many groups. It's been very wonderful experience. I've met Karen, I've met Watkins, I've met Alan Brooks, I've met all of this. And so this is just a mere pleasure for me to really interact. This conference has been very encouraging and helpful. Thank you, Reda, for the opportunity. Thank you for it.
Thank you, Emmanuel Musa. I want to acknowledge also the great comments in the chat. So many introductions, but we also want you to share please do share your reflections. What did you make of day one? If you were there, of course. If you're joining us for the first time, what are you expecting? Great to see so many messages, and thank you, Emmanuel, for your contribution. Steve Mwangi says, this virtual conference has been a great eye-opener to many dimensions and aspects of working and doing things, learning and doing things in a new way in this unique time and season of the pandemic. All right, Charlotte, back to you.
Yes, I see quite a number of raised hands now. Reda, so I'll just turn directly towards Dorothy Logedi, that's joining from Kenya. Dorothy, if you're getting me, please unmute yourself.
Good evening, all. It's Dorothy from Kenya. I'm glad to be in the conference today. I thank you, Sharon Reda, for the good organization. I thank the organizing committee for the good work we have done. I myself am very happy for Kenya team. They have shown up very much, although some have not, they have a problem in navigating the platform, but at least they have known what the conference is, what we are talking about, how we are going to change the immunization phase. So I'll just encourage them to continue interacting, continue networking. This is a good place where we network, where we share ideas and we share our knowledge. Thank you all. Let us be together. Let us improve immunization. Thank you.
Thank you, Dorothy. This message from Charles Ibeneme, who says, hello, everyone. Charles Ibeneme from Nigeria. The conference rocks. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Charles. And that's really to the credit of the members of the organizing committee. More and more messages coming in via social media. So Bedi Raman One's Love says, happy to be connected. This is a very great opportunity for our healthcare delivery. Sohini Sanyal, member of the organizing committee, I say when I recognize their names, day one has been great. We have a sense of ownership because we are part of this conference from the beginning, and we are all trying to overcome any issues collectively to make the conference a great experience for everyone. Charlotte, should we ask Sohini, who's in the room, to elaborate on that? She should be able to.
Definitely.
Yeah, would love to hear more, Sohini. Oh, I think I accidentally muted her just as she had unmuted. All right, we'll get there.
Hi, Rita. Hi, everyone.
Yes,
I hope I am audible to everyone now.
Loud and clear.
Yeah, so, I just wanted to say that day one has been great. It's been a wonderful experience learning and, networking with everyone, just as, Emmanuel also spoke to us about the same. However, because we've been part of this conference from the beginning, we have built this kind of a teamwork with everyone where we see people pitching in for each other, where, people are trying to help each other in order to make this conference a great experience, not just for us, but for, so many participants from all over the world. And just to give an example, I have some really bad connectivity issues today, but I have reached out to a different service provider and I'm trying to get a backup Wi-Fi working, so that I can be a part of the conference and keep helping all the participants today as well. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much indeed, Sohini Sanyal from India. All right. So before we go any further, I want to tell you a little bit about what's in store. First of all, for today, and then for tomorrow, as we wrap up the conference tomorrow. So you can always go to the reception, and it's really important that you go there. Scroll down past the partners and sponsors, who of course we thank and acknowledge, and then you get to the schedule. So you can see here we have the plenary at 3:25. We'll be joined by Bruce Gellin from our silver partner, the Sabin Vaccine Institute, who will address participants in plenary, and then you have to make a choice because today we have 4 concurrent sessions that will be happening at the same time. So you'll have to choose between hearing about successful immunization improvement projects. So Teach to Reach alumni will be presenting what they have actually done to improve immunization training and explaining how they did it. At the same time, in the parallel session, you have the session on building resilient leaders, again with our sponsors and friends, the Sabin Vaccine Institute. Another parallel session is about vaccine hesitancy. So if you want to learn from the COVID-19 Peer Hub, where participants in the Peer Hub developed 700 case studies, not just describing that there's a problem with vaccine hesitancy, but actually explaining how they turn things around, an incident in which there's somebody who was an entity, a group, an individual who was hesitant about the vaccine, and they managed to get them to change their minds and change their behavior. And that's what that session will be about. I'll be presenting. on the work we did in March, April, May at the Geneva Learning Foundation, really figuring out, thinking of a conceptual framework for how we can pivot training during the pandemic. Of course, there will be more instant remote coffee, and then that is for the first set of sessions, and then the second set of sessions at 5 p.m. With the COVID-19 Vaccine Equity Project, again with our friends and partners from the Sabin Vaccine Institute, a great team that we're working closely with. Parallel to that will be the session with the World Health Organization. So Anne Moen, along with Anne Lindstrand, who was here yesterday at the conference, are the two top people at the World Health Organization headquarters who are leading COVAX, together with UNICEF and Gavi and so on. But Anne Moen is going to be there together with Shoshana Golden, who leads the ACT component of COVAX. So very excited to have them with us, and that'll be in the second set of sessions. Learning innovation, really, if you may have met Professor Karen Watkins yesterday, and again in the parallel session at 5 p.m. Geneva. You can go to the schedule and see the local time in your area. About really, she's been researching how we learn in the Scholar courses, networks, Impact Accelerator, COVID-19 Peer Hub, Teach to Reach, and we'll be sharing the sort of model and framework she's been developing to help you think about how maybe you can use some of that framework and adapt it to your own context. And then in a very practical, technical, and timely session with Benedetta Allegranzi from WHO will be really the latest from WHO's guidance on IPC for COVID-19 vaccination activities. So that's the schedule for today, and we will finish, of course, at 5:45 with the instant remote coffee. So let me have a look at what is happening in the. Oh, one more thing. We have country team leaders. So let me just make sure if Bruce Gellin, our guest, is here yet. Yes. So we'll be in about a minute. We'll be turning it over to him to hear his address to the participants of the conference. Tomorrow is the big day for the country teams. There's a number of team leaders who are in the room. So as you can see here, this morning we had the Francophones for the first set of countries, and then tomorrow the team leaders will be honoring them and the work that alumni of the Geneva Learning Foundation's programs have been leading on their own because they want to in Nigeria, Ghana, Pakistan, India, and Cameroon. If you don't see your country here, we'll also explain tomorrow what you'll need to do and how you can actually go about creating your country's scholar team. And we'll hear directly from team leaders about what difference these country groups are making to helping achieve EPI goals. So very pleased now to turn to Bruce Gellin. He's the president of global immunization at the Sabin Vaccine Institute. And let me bring him up on screen here. Bruce, over to you. We're really looking forward to hearing your speech. You'll have to unmute, however.
There is that part. So Reda, thank you, and thank you all for coming back to day 2 of this Teach to Reach conference. It's incredible how much energy, enthusiasm, and excitement you can generate even from a virtual meeting like this. Thanks again for being here about this important dialogue and how together we can improve training, learning, and our support of immunization professionals like yourselves. I have to comment, though, before I begin, but again, not only about the energy, but the work of the organizing team that brought all of you together, and for all of you for coming together. This supports this notion that if you want something done, you ask a busy person to do it. But in this case, they asked 282 volunteers step forward of the Teach to Reach alumni and founding members of the Global Council on Learning Leaders for Immunization. So that was the nucleus that brought the rest of you here. So congratulations really to all of you. And this is an indicator, the fact that there are so many interested in this at this important time, of the impact that Teach to Reach has had on, and reinforces the dedication and commitment that you've had to come together virtually. Learnings and trainings are means to an end of improving the health of your communities. And what you've heard from others, and you'll hear from others throughout the day and tomorrow, is how the work that you're doing is improving that work, improving the health of your communities, and particularly at these challenging times. I'm proud that the Sabin Vaccine Institute is a sponsor of this incredible event and helping to support all of you. As you may know, Sabin has been supporting the vaccine and vaccination enterprise for more than a quarter of a century. And our mission in one sentence is to make vaccines more accessible, to enable innovation, and to expand immunization across the globe. Needless to say, we know that without each of you and all of you, achieving this vision just wouldn't happen. Much of Sabin's work is dedicated to you in supporting immunization programs in order to have this impact. I know that many of you are already familiar with members and are members of our Boost community. You're going to hear more about that and some of Sabin's work later through this conference. But this community, I think, really reflects what we're all trying to do here. It's an online and offline platform that connects immunization professionals to peers, provides support and resources to learn and grow, and equips professionals to lead. And that's really the focus, and to lead specifically in these challenging times. Boost now has over 1,200 members from 123 countries. Many of you are part of that, but I would encourage you to take a look and to become part of that network. It's really a community, and I think that's what's really important about it. It's designed to meet your needs as immunization professionals, and we've been hearing from you all throughout this, and it was really designed to hear from you, and it's designed with the immunization professionals in mind. And it focuses on providing timely trainings and tools and resources from partners, but also, and I think most importantly, provide the space for peer connections. And that's what really makes the difference. When we can't be together, we've learned a little bit in these virtual settings on how to have some peer-to-peer conversations, but that's really what this community is all about. It happens at national levels, subnational levels, and community levels, but it's a chance for each of you to connect with others, to share your successes, to share your challenges, and to think about how we can develop solutions together. And through Boost, and beyond that, Boost offers a number of other different things. You're going to be hearing about this today. And I just want to give you a high-level overview of some of the other programs that Sabin has that are, again, in support of immunization programs. Some of them will be discussed during this conference, but you're always welcome to learn more and to join us in these. We have a program called Immunization Advocates that is essentially two pieces. One is to help journalists do a better job of covering vaccine and vaccination stories. We know that these are the science of vaccine, and we are seeing this now in real time. The science of vaccine is complex. The complexity of immunization programs, their policies is often complex, and we think working with journalists is going to help them do a better reporting. The flip side of that is also trying to get better messages out there and working with the media. And by doing that, we're training immunization professionals and healthcare workers to be better spokespersons and to actually be sources for some of these journalists. That's another activity. We have a program that we started 2 years ago on vaccine acceptance and demand, and trying to extend the learnings and develop an evidence base on vaccination hesitancy. And have just started an applied epidemiology program, which grew out of our typhoid program, primarily about surveillance and the kinds of data that are needed to inform decision-making, the kinds of data that go to NITAGs about decision-making for vaccine policies. And we're expanding that beyond typhoid to look at other vaccine-preventable diseases. But I'm not here to talk about Sabin. I'm here to talk about you. And given what we're facing with COVID and the pending rollout of COVID vaccines, you're almost like performance athletes training for the Olympics. And this is really the Olympics you've been training for your whole career. And I think that the Olympic analogy is a good one, although usually the people who run marathons are different than the people who run sprints. Now you know that you're going to run both. And that's what's going to be particularly challenging about the introduction of COVID vaccines, as you're also trying to maintain immunization coverage throughout your communities. We're here to connect, we're here to learn, but most importantly, we're here to share and to problem solve together and how we can serve our communities better. And it's from this sharing among peers, among experts from a wide range of fields that we can make a difference. Investments in scientific technology have increased the number of life-saving vaccines that are available. That's the good news is that provides more protection. The hard news is that means it's more work on bringing these vaccines to people. And frankly, I think that we know that vaccines don't save lives, vaccinations save lives. And that's the important piece of this. And we can look at this in another way, that every occurrence of a vaccine preventable that's not prevented is a case study to understand why that happened. Sometimes it may be the vaccine. It didn't provide the right kind of immunity or sufficient immunity to protect against the disease. But sometimes it's about the vaccination itself. And we've had lots of discussions about the supply side of things. Similarly, we have to think about the demand side of things. There was a paper a couple of years ago that described the 5 A's in trying to understand where the gaps might be. And the 5 A's are access, affordability, awareness, acceptance, and activation. And you can see from that spectrum, there's initially the supply side of things, access and affordability, to the demand side of awareness, acceptance, and activation. This is true of routine immunizations, and it's going to be true of our upcoming COVID-19 vaccine introduction, which arguably be the most complex learning challenge, not just delivery challenge, but learning challenge that we have faced as an immunization community. Every day of the vaccine rollout for the COVID vaccine, we'll all face new challenges. Sometimes we'll have a ready solution, but sometimes we're going to need to anticipate that there'll be new challenges and we're going to need new solutions. They may not always be solutions, which is why we need to be in a learning process to evaluate the impact of these solutions that we create to make sure that they're on track, or we need to redo them again. And how each of us and how all of us respond to these challenges is why we're here these few days, to exchange these ideas and to make sure that as a community we can help each other. So largely this is also about leadership. And there are a lot of definitions of leadership, but one of that resonates well for what you're trying to do here and what Teach to Reach is doing, what Boost is doing, and many others, is that there's the accomplishments of goal through the direction of others. That's the definition. And further, does that a successful leader is one who can understand people's motivations, enlist others' participations in a way that marry up the individual needs and interests to the group's purpose and goals. And that leader has to give others the opportunity to learn. Because we'll need to develop and try new solutions to new problems, Boost's focus is relevant to what we're doing now. And their focus is on what we refer to as adaptive leadership. Again, the idea that you're going to have to pivot to face new solutions to new challenges. And this requires rapid learning and constant adaptations. So another definition, adaptation, a change in structure, function, or behavior by which a species or individual improves its chance of survival in a specific environment. It's not about Darwin, but this is about programs here. And I think that's really an important piece about the keeping adaptation front and center, and the need to pivot, the need to examine where we are, and the need to challenge ourselves to make sure that what we're seeing is that we can define what we're seeing and try to develop and test solutions for those, and to determine quickly if they're working or not. Another set of vowels are the 4 A's of adaptive leadership, of anticipation, anticipating likely current needs, and also, but really importantly, anticipating future needs and trying to think ahead of what the scenarios might be. Articulation, to make sure you can clarify and build a collective understanding and support for action that's going to help in your management of your teams and the people who you're managing up to make sure that you can make your case. Adaptation, the concept here of continuous learning. And accountability, the importance of transparency and decision-making processes, and being open to challenges, open to feedback, and to continue that continuous learning. This framework enables you to rethink your role in terms of the stakeholders around you and the challenges you face. And we've been thrilled, along those lines, to work with the Geneva Learning Foundation and the Adaptive Change Advisors to bring this thinking to 2 cohorts of immunization professionals so far, nearly 250 people, many of whom are in the audience today. And I think that's part of the peer-to-peer discussions to share what that experience has been for you. It's been also clear that the adaptive leadership is making an impact. We hear from alumni of these programs that the leadership trainings that they've used have helped their narratives, have helped mobilize their stakeholders, have helped push for innovations in interventions, innovations in management, and innovations more broadly to better assess the motives of the individuals and organizations who you work with and work for. But this is just the beginning. You'll have an opportunity later today to hear about the leadership journeys of some of your colleagues. I think that's Retta gave us the outline of what's to come, and I think that may be in the session that immediately follows. So I've mentioned the 5 A's: access, affordability, awareness, acceptance, and activation, about understanding gaps in coverage. I've mentioned the 4 A's about adaptive leadership: anticipation, articulation, adaptation, and accountability. There's one other vowel that's really important, particularly in what we're facing with COVID, and that vowel is E, and the word is equity. While this is a principle throughout our work into trying to maintain equity of really all of our health service and immunization services, this has been central to the discussions of COVID to ensure that there is equity on vaccination. You've heard much about this from higher levels, from WHO, from Gavi, and many others, as global equity, to ensure that there is enough vaccine that can be shared in real time around the world. That's critical, important, and we're hearing about that every day with the desires to increase the supplies to meet this demand. But we also learn from our boost community, and that's why it's so important to have the people like you on the front lines telling us what you're seeing, telling us about your challenges. We've heard about the challenge of equity within your countries. That we know that was one of the overarching principles of SAGE's values framework. National equity, not just global equity, but national equity was one of the core themes to ensure vaccine access and benefit within countries for groups experiencing greater burdens from the COVID pandemic. And that's an important piece to meet this challenge. You'll hear more about this later. I believe it's today or maybe tomorrow from our group that's developing the COVID Vaccine Equity Project. I'll just give you a highlight of it now, because I think the principles here are going to be important to all of us. We're fortunate the Skoll Foundation gave us startup funds to get this going. We're partnering, Sabin is partnering with Dahlberg and JSI to get this launched. And we'll be sharing the learnings as we learn them. That's an important principle of anything that we do. We've started with 4 countries to take a deeper dive to try to get an understanding from the ground of what some of the needs are within this equity context. And again, you'll hear more about this later, but just to highlight that, there were 5 themes that came forward from these inquiries. The importance for effective and inclusive planning. And inclusive is really the key word here, because unlike other vaccine decisions that are opined on by NITAGs, this is a vaccine that there's equities throughout society, not only for trying to prevent morbidity and mortality, but because there's also the need for keeping society functioning. And so there are people who are going to be interested in having vaccine protection from COVID, in addition to those who are going to be protected against the morbidity and mortality that this virus causes. So inclusive planning and coordination to bring others to the table. The importance of transparent, data-driven approaches to identify and reach and track vaccine recipients. As you all know, that the priorities for the COVID vaccine are different than the usual populations for immunization programs, and trying to determine who those people are, where they are, to the databases of the comorbidities and all the rest of the things that will weigh into prioritization is really critical. Developing that data and having that as a basis for informing decision making is important as well. The third of these 5 learnings was about the data-driven immunization supply and cold chain management. Again, taking a look at existing infrastructure and looking at that along an equity lens to see if the infrastructure is reaching those who are maybe most in need. And I think that examination is going to be important, particularly, as I mentioned before, because immunization programs have been geared primarily at different populations. So you're going to need to take a hard look at that existing infrastructure, again, through an equity lens. And the 4th and 5th parts of these learnings, lessons, I'll put these together. It was about healthcare workers and community health workers, as well as community engagement. Again, these are the people who are going to be really at the front lines. Healthcare workers will be among the first people who receive vaccinations. And I think as that experience goes, that'll inform how that goes throughout the rest of the work, and the importance of community engagement and mobilization, helping with the demand generation and acceptance, and keeping an ear out for things that might be throwing an immunization program off. We know there's lots of discussions about vaccine hesitancy. You'll hear more about that from one of the webinars that Boost has run before, and you'll see pieces of that later on today. But keeping an ear to what people are thinking, what they're worried about, and being able to respond to those questions is also really critically important. And while the equity of outcomes is really what most people focus on, the other thing we've learned in this process is we learn in these discussions with countries is the importance of equity of process, to bring people to the table who might not normally be at these immunization policy tables, and to keep an eye out for that, because some of the people for whom inequities are most are the ones who are often disenfranchised and trying to think of ways to bring their voices to the table. So again, let's return to why we're here today. We're here today in these 3 days. The conference themes got it just right. So again, the 258 or 285 of you who put this together, you had it just right as far as what you needed to accomplish at this time for the session. You're all familiar with, but just to highlight, the 4 themes are about learning, some practical, the importance of having practical information, some of the more basic technical information that you're going to get here. The importance of operating in a crisis and to engage with your peers to discuss what you're learning in the pandemic, what we need to keep our eyes open during the pandemic and continue to learn, because that's really the critical piece of this. We're going to be thrown new challenges every day. There's every day in the news is something about what the virus is doing, what the vaccines are doing or not doing. This is going to continue to happen, and we're going to need to keep an eye on those with an adaptive learning, an adaptive leadership lens in mind. And then the final 2 themes were about change and how to learn in a crisis, and overarching is how is strengthening each of you as leaders. And I think that a key way to do it is not only through the sessions you're going to get today and the webinars, but encouraging the peer-to-peer learnings, because effective leadership, as you know, is really essential to managing effective programs. And as goes leadership and programs, as goes the leadership, will go the programs. So a core question that we're grappling with, and that's really the theme here, is how best to support immunization professionals, you who have come to this, to be prepared to lead in these complex and uncertain times. Boost is partnering with People Power Health to offer trainings on community activation to its members, looking how to apply movement and building strategies to immunization advocacy efforts, and delving into those community efforts. But I'm sure that you've all been involved in these community engagement efforts and other sectors as well. And I think that's going to be a critical component of this. Again, one of the key findings in our first examination to these countries. And I'd like to end with a story about a story. Again, as I've emphasized, and as you all know, we learn best from our peers. And we learn what can be effective, and we can learn what didn't work, and sharing, again, successes and sharing dilemmas and trying to solve problems together. With that, I want to point you to an offering that Boost has, which is called Bright Spots, which is featuring what individuals are doing in a community that may not get attention otherwise, but are making a huge difference because they've taken a problem, they've examined it, they've tried to think of why it's not working, come up with a solution to that problem, and tried it out. I think that's what's important about the Bright Spots. And we know that all of you are involved in doing things like this at a range of levels, and encourage you to not only look at some of these bright spots, but to offer up your experiences, because we know that there are many, many bright spots, and sharing those is another way to share these important experiences. And these stories highlight the importance of locally driven solutions and how essential it is to adapt training and capacity building in these contexts. Needless to say, there are many challenges ahead. And what you learn here during these 3 days will help you not only with some skills that you need, but how to be resourceful and how to think about being resourceful as a resourceful leader, all with the goal of improving the health of your communities. So as we prepare for the introduction of COVID-19 vaccines, this work is more important than ever. We need to learn from our colleagues' successes and challenges, collaborate on best practices, and identify opportunities for improvement. And in order to be successful, this work and the work of our partners must be grounded in the realities of what you're facing, and take into account your perspectives and the perspectives of others. You're the real leaders in capacity building and learning, and we're seeing this through this conference, for the innovation that's being promoted here and driven by immunization professionals at all levels. So I thank you for all of your efforts in doing this, all of the energy that you're generating in these discussions, and all of the learnings that you're going to get with each other here from some of the speakers, take away from these lessons, and hope that we can continue to share them as we're going to be challenged by the introduction of these COVID vaccines. So Reda, back to you again. Thanks for allowing me these few minutes to speak to everyone.
Thank you so much, Bruce Kellen, from our partner and friends at the Sabin Vaccine Institute. Thank you so much and welcome. Hope you'll enjoy and contribute to the conference in the sessions that are coming up next. I'm going to tell you all about that now as we prepare. We have 3 minutes. I'm going to ask you for to hold on before you go into the networking sessions and to tone down the applause, but very happy to be hearing this much excitement, this much enthusiasm, and to see so many messages coming in, indeed. So let's go back to the program. And so at the 45-minute mark, we'll be going into the instant remote coffee. So you've got 15 minutes. By now, I think everyone knows how this works. There were 4,723 successful remote coffees yesterday. So obviously an activity that everyone enjoyed. However, it is only for 15 minutes. And at 4 p.m. Geneva, you'll see if you go to the reception and scroll down to the schedule, you'll see the schedule with your local times. But at the top of the hour, you will have to make a decision. Which of these, which session will you be going into? So you have the choice between successful implementation of Teach to Reach projects to improve training. So if really you want to know how to practically improve immunization training, well, Teach to Reach alumni actually did that, and a number were amazingly successful and produced, startling outcomes to see what a difference it can make to improve immunization training. At the same time, so option 2 is the session with the Sabin Vaccine Institute, the Boost community team, building resilient leaders to navigate immunization challenges. At the same time is the third option, from vaccine hesitancy to acceptance. So many of you, I saw many messages in the chat expressing concern about vaccine hesitancy, COVID-19, but also other vaccines. In the COVID-19 Peer Hub, participants developed 700 case studies, and you'll hear some of the best ones in that session. How to pivot training during the pandemic. So that's one. We'll be presenting the Geneva Learning Foundation sort of framework that we developed in March, April, May of 2020, and really so trying to give some of the overall, so not specific to immunization, but some guidance and some things to think about with respect to how you pivot training during the pandemic and beyond. And then we'll have 15 minutes of remote coffee. Again, you know how this works. You go to the sessions. The sessions only appear 5 minutes before they actually start, and you'll see the country rooms, which you'll be discovering tomorrow. But right now, it's not about the country rooms. There is an open session. Anyone can go at any time and turn on their audio and video and share with others, so you can organize meetings there. There have been some really interesting sessions happening there, but you will see the actual sessions 5 minutes before. So at the 55-minute mark, you will see them appear here, all 4 sessions, and then you'll have to choose which one of these you actually go into. So go to the reception, and if you haven't gone already, we're now at the 45-minute mark, and again, consulting the schedule, you can see that it is now time for the instant remote coffee. So that is for the next hour and 15 minutes. That is a program, and I invite you to go to the reception to see which of the 4 sessions that will be happening 1 hour and 15 minutes from now that you will want to attend. A great thank you to our partners, sponsors, and friends at the Sabin Vaccine Institute. Thank you to the organizing committee that has made this an incredible success, more than 24 hours into it, and we're just getting started. I hope you are enjoying and gaining a lot from this conference. Hello back to Naeem. Please tell us where you're connecting from. Some great messages in the chat. Enjoy the Enjoy the networking, but don't forget, at the 55-minute mark, we want you to go back into the sessions. So not the plenary, but to go back to the actual sessions. That's it for me. Signing off for the plenary. We're going to stop broadcasting here in a couple of minutes. Go to the networking now and get ready to go into the sessions. Thank you, and see you soon. All right, if you're still watching in the plenary on the stage, please go to the networking for another 6 minutes, and then come back for the. Please come back to the sessions. Go to the sessions because there are 4 parallel sessions. You'll only be able to join one. We should have the recordings available fairly soon, but really pick the one that is closest to your priorities, your interests in work. But if you're still here, that means you're not enjoying the networking yet. So please go to networking. Just a reminder for those who are joining for the first time on day 2. Very simple, the networking. You click on ready and you get randomly matched with someone else. And if you both decide to connect after 3 minutes of dialogue, then you can swap your contact details. Hope you enjoy that. And let's close down this stage. Please go to networking and then to the sessions in just 5 minutes from now. Thank you and take care.